if you are not in it, then you are not shaping it. If it is male voices only, then it is going to become a male-dominated industry, and the way it works is going to be of the male voice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Adobe Vodcast. I am joined today with Siobhán from They Are Creative. Siobhán, tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, I would absolutely love to. I am Siobhán, as Emily said, from They Are Creative, which is a small studio. I create surreal commercial content using AI as my champion tool, as well as many others.
Fantastic. And I know from just talking to you, for anyone watching, Siobhán and I were on the same plane to off Barcelona yesterday, and we spent 4 hours talking to each other and annoyed everyone on the plane.
Yep.
I think
so.
Doing that.
Yep.
But we just had so much to talk about. So now we've got to condense it sort of into an hour of vodcast.
Oh, it's not 4 hours.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't make that clear.
Okay.
But yeah, we are going to have to just cut it down a little bit, I guess.
Beautiful.
To do that. So I think to start with, before we jump sort of into your background and your story, I'm going to start with some quick fire questions.
Oh.
And I hope you're ready for these.
There better not be a dogs or cats, because I'm not doing that.
Right.
I can't answer that one. Sorry.
Okay, because we know the answer to that already.
No.
Okay, not anymore. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so here we go. Quick fire. Idea first or execution?
Idea.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Ooh, good one. Claude or ChatGPT?
Claude.
Straight away.
Yep.
Okay. Pizza or burger?
Pizza.
Good one. A trend you're over?
I don't like trends.
Oh, love that answer.
You.
A trend. Okay. The next one was a trend. I'm sorry. Are you an early bird or a late night creator?
Early bird.
Oh, lovely. And I know you work from home.
Yes.
But have you worked in offices before, and what do you prefer?
I have, and I prefer to work from home.
Lovely. And what is it about home that you prefer to? This is no longer quick fire.
Okay. So home, I am a silent worker, which I know is not a very creative thing. People like noise, they like cafes, music, but I work best in silence. And I enjoy that I don't get interrupted at home and I can just get on.
Right. And so you have a little home office you work from. Have you always worked from home, or have you been in a studio before?
So we have a studio and it's separate from the house. So that's how I don't get interrupted. It's completely separate. So, so I don't have any interruptions coming in and out of the house or anything. So I presume if you were doing that, then you would. But, I've had many different careers. So I've worked in many different environments, office-based. I was a teacher, so I've worked in a classroom base, which, was very, very noisy and very hectic.
I can imagine.
So I've sort of done all the environments, I would say, probably.
And so going back to sort of this background, what did you start? Your first jump into a career after education?
Well, straight after education, I went and worked in property.
Oh.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
Well, I was selling houses for a living, just, So I jumped straight into the property market just as a job. I really enjoyed it and in sales. But unfortunately, the financial crash came and I could see the writing on the wall of what was going to happen. So I had a lovely time and a lovely experience as a very young woman out of university. And then I decided to go back to university and do my teacher training.
Okay. And were you doing any kind of creative stuff during this?
No. So
I went on the side,
not
or
even on the side.
Yeah.
I've always had a vivid imagination, and I've always, there's been a bit of drama in who I am. I think you can imagine. So as a child, I was always acting, and my family were convinced I'd end up in front of a camera at some point. But I always loved writing. So I went to a very academic school. So really where my creativity came out was in literature and writing and creating stories. So I suppose it's always been there. But I never really had an outlet or someone in education, I suppose, that was harnessing that.
Yeah,
so I never really went in that direction to begin with.
And this storytelling now is a big part of what you do, right?
Huge,
and so fast forward to when you're starting to enter this sort of creative industry. What did you first do in there? You were creating content?
Yeah, so I was teaching, and then I just all of a sudden decided to quit my job and start an Instagram account. 0
Love it.
followers. Not necessarily like sound advice, but I'm a bit of a risk taker, as you can tell. So I was working very, very hard and working a lot of hours, and I had people used to literally stop me everywhere I go, ask me where my dress was from, where I got my hair done, blah, blah,
I can
blah,
see
blah,
why.
blah.
You're wearing a wonderful
Thank you very
dress
much. Thank you
today.
very much. And the first wave of like female creators was happening working in fashion. And these were really switched on women. Like there's a woman called Victoria McGrath who like has a PhD in fashion, and she could see like the writing on the wall of how women could start making money in this industry. So I was like, okay, I quite fancy a bit of that. So I started my Instagram account and started working, just posting my outfits, very, very basic, very 2016. Yeah. And I then built up, and brands started to ask to work with me. And I was like, oh, there's a bit more to me than just holding a product, being like, here, buy this type of thing. And I decided that I wanted to tell more of a story and put more creative into it and make basically mini advertorials they started out as. And that started out like on location, and I was creating like organic content for myself, like making these like elaborate like editorial stories, and starting to really get into video. And then where that progressed was I then built a studio at home, and then I started getting into green screen and compositing. Prior to that, we were building sets in the house, etc., etc., etc. So, and
did that take quite a long time to do?
Yeah, it did, and it was sort of taking over like parts of the house and things like that prior to the studio. So that's when green screen we started to think, well, we could really start doing like compositing. And then that's when AI came into the picture, and we thought we could composite these backgrounds. We no longer need to build all these sets. And it was very, at the beginning, we did a campaign with an alcohol brand, and the background, we made this whole Christmas background. And once upon a time, we would have like made the whole like set, bought the Christmas tree, but made the presents, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And we made like a whole house, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of Photoshop work because there's still a lot of work involved there.
And that was sort of at the start of AI kind of coming into play, right? So you would have to composite lots of different things together, because it wasn't totally accurate like we have it today.
It was pretty ropey.
I remember that.
Yeah. So the things on the kitchen, the background of like the cabinets in this like really kitsch house that we made. It was like, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about like, and we will kind of come back to sort of your story, but also that leads me on to how AI has progressed over the past couple of years.
Wild.
Because you started using it pretty much at the start of generative AI.
Yeah, so
2023.
So sort of like the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023 was when it sort of started coming out to the public.
Yeah.
And that's when I started dabbling around with it. And originally, I was sort of making environments and creating humans, but they obviously have sometimes had several arms or several fingers, or it was pretty
and
lo-fi.
So would you
photoshopped my head in. So I used to take a picture of my head against the green screen and then Photoshop my head in. And at the time, people were like, oh my word. And these were like really surreal environments, because that's what I really dig. So I wasn't pretending to be like a real place. And people were like, where is this in the end? Because people now I think people are more like, this is AI, even when something isn't AI now, it's sort of gone the other direction.
Yeah.
But at the time, people were quite amazed by it. I was making all these sort of like cool like snowscapes and snow houses and things like that, just playing around, just having fun and seeing where my imagination could take me and what the tools could do.
I think that's awesome, and I like talking about like the kind of wibbly bits of AI as well, particularly at the start, because I've mentioned this, we're off at the moment, and I've just done a masterclass on Gen AI and everything, and I like when I use Firefly boards, I have like a bin that I put like sort of stupid stuff in, and also bits that just didn't work. And I think it's very important to talk about how you still have to be curating it. And when I've seen you talk about some of your recent projects, I realize there is so much refinement involved, and you really have to like focus in on it, even though now, we can do a lot with generative AI, but you still have to have that eye of just, 100%. This doesn't look good, this doesn't, this doesn't work, this doesn't suit my client or anything. And I think it's important to highlight that when we talk about being a generative AI artist, it takes a long time still.
It's exactly the same amount of time as building sets, sometimes longer. I'm just using my time differently.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There is a lot of work involved in what I create. It isn't a quick.
Yeah. I've seen some of your Firefly boards, and I'm always so impressed by them, because I think where I'm using Firefly boards, it's more for just ideation. Right. So I don't want a finished product in it. I just want a direction I'm going to follow.
Yep.
And that's a perfectly valid way of working. It's what a lot of people tend to use it for. And then we have like awesome creators like yourself that are almost doing most of it inside of there and refining it so much in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting to see. And what you said to me earlier, just before we started filming, was really interesting, is that when you quote your clients for how long is this going to take me, it's quite hard to estimate.
Very hard, because I can't tell you what AI is going to give me. And it's quite temperamental at times. And one day it'll absolutely, thank you very much, like, everything, every prompt that I've put in, everything that I'm getting out, I've obviously like prompted really well, and I've obviously used really good references, but even then I can like get different results on different days, and I can't tell you what the results are going to be, or how much Photoshop work or how much like VFX work is going to have to be done after that. Because if you're trying to match scenes, I have to have the angle of the scenes to be exactly the same. Now that is really hard to get correct, the continuity. And if I've got several scenes that are in different environments, but they've got to like a match cut over to there, trying to get that to work, it's a lot of work.
I can imagine, like, I've started doing sort of little bits and stuff, and to get something consistent, particularly if you're working for a brand that wants a specific look.
And getting the product correct as well.
Oh my goodness. And do you have like any tips of how to approach anything like that?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. That's a good tip.
I've actually I do quite a lot of workshops as well. And I did a workshop recently with some young creators, and I'm talking sort of 16, 17, and it was really interesting how quickly they got annoyed and gave up on it. And I was like, this is not the tool for you if you're not willing to just be like, no, this is what I want. And also being able to adapt, because sometimes you have to know that I'm not going to get it, and being like, right, how can I have a work around this? There's a lot of problem solving involved as well.
And it's a hybrid workflow. This is something I also spoke about this morning, is that creatives that are using AI, if they can use it and know when to let AI run and when to take over manual control.
100%.
That's stronger than anything, I think, 100%. In this new era. Like to have that hybrid workflow, to use tools that can integrate together seamlessly. And Adobe tools are great at doing that, but I'm very aware that we're still at the start of this, and that excites me a lot. You know, we've built this kind of base of, you know, you have boards, you can go into Photoshop and into Express and Firefly Video Editor from there. And this is kind of our foundation. And now, you know, I'm excited to see how we expand it in future, because I think creative workflows with AI, you need to have that manual input still.
100%, because you're not going to get the results that you want if you're if decisions are being made in other directions. At the end of the day, using AI is like using Photoshop. 10 years ago, Photoshop was controversial, and people were like, oh, like you're adding the elements to like imagery. Well, it's exactly the same. And you're creating assets at the end of the day to use, and then do what as you wish with those assets. It's just these assets are created digitally now instead of creating them physically in a set, for example.
And I would also say that, you know, when you talk about you've been teaching these younger folks how to use it, I think when you give someone a tool like AI, it's very easy for them to become sort of almost complacent with it, where it's such a fast thing, and it can produce very good results, you know, in the off chance. And so you expect it to be a faster way of working, but actually when you actually have to refine it, and when you have to match a brief properly, it does take that time, and it takes that skill and refinement to do.
I also think, Emily, that the AI is fast is a bit of a folly. I think it is a message that we're being being sold that AI is fast, but I actually don't agree with that personally. I actually don't think it's fast. I think that it is just, as I said, it is literally just using your time in a different way.
Yeah.
It takes me, as you say, to actually create like content for brands and clients. It takes the same, if not longer, than doing it the traditional way.
And I mean, it does help in the sense that, you know, instead of having to go on site and shoot something, you can do something from your home office.
Incredible. I used to have to get up at 3:00 in the morning to get to a beach with a load of ice creams, pray they didn't melt, get there 4:00 in the morning, hope a seagull doesn't come and steal. You know, I've stood in the sea at 3 a.m. I've done my time. And that's the thing, that I think that having all that wealth of like experiences of knowing that on a traditional shoot, I would have like been here, you know, dealing with the lights, dealing with all the different elements you have to deal with to make sure that photography and filming on location works and works well. That is a skill set that you can then bring through. And I do sit there. When I'm sat there, some days I can sit there in my pajamas on a laptop and I can just get to work and get creating. Yeah. And I am incredibly grateful for that. And that it really excites me that I can just create whenever and wherever I want. I don't have to wait for a certain day or certain conditions. And you know, in the UK, we don't always get the best conditions for shooting outside.
Not like Barcelona.
No, not like Barcelona.
But even if you needed a snowy one, I also talk about, you know, smaller studios or freelancers or students, you know, who have this vision that they want to get off the ground. Yeah. And suddenly now they have a tool that potentially helps them do that.
Absolutely. And there's been some incredible work coming out of countries like India as well, where people wouldn't have the opportunity to like Hollywood budgets, and they're creating films that they've got the capabilities. They just didn't have the contacts and the budget, basically, and they're creating some absolutely incredible things. So I actually think that it means that people can actually show who they are and really shine.
Yeah. And so for you, you know, we've talked about you being a storyteller. So how do you push that into the content that you create? I mean, aside from AI, we can talk about AI as well as possible. But for you as just a content creator, why... I think it's your stories that is why people come to you. Yeah. Right. And so how do you go about, you know, when people first give you a brief? Yeah. You know, do you ideate? I guess you ideate with it and you find something in there. Like, tell me a bit about your process with that.
So I'll be honest with you. My best ideas come away from the studio, away from the screen. I love to walk. I go for walks every morning. So a lot of my ideas come then in fresh air, the countryside, and when I've got like a clear space and the space to be able to ideate. Now, ideating for organic projects, the sort of passion projects, and I do a lot of organic work because that's the way that the world works now. Show the world what you can do, and then you get hired. So for that, it comes easy because it tends to be things that I am interested in, I'm passionate about. Or at the last Adobe event, I saw a woman and she was feeding pigeons, and there was pigeons like absolutely surrounding. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is like, I've already written that down. So I see things and I think, oh, that's good. Or I'll listen to a song and I'll be like, oh, I really see how I could create something really epic to do with that song. So those ideas are really, I just keep noting them down, or I use like the voice note app in my phone. But when it comes to briefs, it's a bit trickier because you're being asked to create ideas on demand.
Right.
And that is to a brief. Yeah. So that instantly is condensing your ideas because it's no matter how amazing brands are, they have got an objective. So I tend to just literally write all my ideas down, things that I think could work, and I thrash it backwards and forwards. Now, I used to thrash it backwards and forwards with pen and paper and write it down and be like, oh, is that good? Come back to it. But now, I hate to say it, but I go into an LLM and I go backwards and forwards and I thrash my ideas backwards and forth like I had an assistant because I am just a small team. So that really helps me, and it really helps me sort of brain dump all my ideas and sort of come to more condensed version of what I want to do, and that is quicker. Yeah. So that does make it quicker to be able to turn ideas around.
That. And I think where we're in this space where we've got these LLMs to kind of bounce ideas off of, we've got generative AI helping us ideate and everything. Decision making is becoming more important now, I think.
Yeah.
Particularly
critical
creative
thinking.
Yeah. And do you have any secret ways of making decisions easier for yourself, particularly creative decisions? Like, I personally find when I'm doing a creative project, I'm not good at making decisions.
Right.
I get like, oh, I like them both. I can't follow a direction as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or advice on that? Because you are so good at making this engaging stuff, and I can see, you know, even in the way you dress, you know what looks lovely.
Yeah.
And you're obviously making this decision, and it might come naturally. Maybe
Yeah, I think there is, and I know that's really annoying to say, but I think there's a part of that is just something that's innate in me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where it comes from, and I've always been able to have ideas. And the funny thing is that people say ideas are cheap, but I actually think in this type generation that ideas aren't cheap, and ideas are actually what's going to get you hired now.
Yeah.
So recommendations on how to, I think you just have to have a really clear picture of what you want, write out a treatment, decide which direction you want to go in, and you know in your gut whether like it's going in the right way or going in an area that you love. And it really is a time thing. Keep doing it, keep creating, and you will sort of find your path on what you want to create and what your style of work looks like.
Yeah. And when you say treatment, like what is a treatment?
So what I do, especially for client work, is I create a document which outlines exactly what I'm going to create. It'll have in there the objectives from the client, making sure that I'm meeting them. And this really comes into, again, life skills. I used to be a teacher, so I used to write lesson plans for a living. So it is literally like my forte. So like a treatment document, you would put in there mood boards, you would put in there storyboards, and that's all imagery, which generative AI, again, like I am terrible at drawing. Like I can't draw anything like my 4-year-olds I used to teach used to laugh at my drawings. But now I can literally do that in AI. So again, that is like such a quick tool that it doesn't matter that a tool is creating that for me. I don't have that skill, unfortunately, so that has made my life better. But my advice would be is do the most in-depth creative treatment for your clients, because what it means is, number one, you know the direction you're going in. So it means that you're really sure on what needs to be created. And number two, it means that the client is really clear about what you're creating. And it means at the end of the day, you're less likely to have amendments once you've created. And especially if you're using AI.
I was about to ask. Creating
amendments in AI, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to recreate that exact scene. It's getting a lot better because of references and structured references, and it is getting a lot better, and there's a lot of more reliability there. But once upon a time, there really wasn't. And so it does mean that once you've finished that edit, that you are more likely to get it approved and not have to go back and do a load of amendments. And that includes music. That's the really big a bit of advice, because there's nothing worse than creating a video to music and then the client saying they don't like the music and having to go and redo a whole video to a different
segment. Had that before?
I have had that before,
Okay,
Emily.
Speaking from experience then.
I have had that before.
Live and learn.
For some really big clients. And really big projects. And so from now on, I have said to myself, here is the music. Do you approve?
That's great advice, though, because
really good,
I've not worked with clients to for this kind of thing, and I wouldn't have even sort of thought about that, unless they've specified you want to use this music. Getting that all everything down.
I even write my caption out prior to even creating the content, everything. So when we get the green light, it is done. This is the caption. This is, what it's hopefully going to look like. Obviously, creativity doesn't necessarily follow such a structured path, but this is the idea. This is the direction we're going in. This is the music. This is exactly how it's going to be created. And fingers crossed, that sort of does me in good stead. It means that once it gets handed in, that's sort of, there's only minor things that have to come back.
And this is, you speaking from, was it 10 years of experience of working as a content creator for various brands? Yeah. That's crazy. And it's been a ride, right?
Yeah. And that sort of, creators have gone from sort of like these like really inexperienced people that brands hired. Like L'Oreal was my first client, which is so random, but it is. And I remember the video I created for them. It was absolutely awful. I didn't know what I was doing. But you know, they paid me for my experience, not very well, but it's very well for my experience, but they did pay me an awful lot, so it was a learning curve. But as time has gone on, creators have really taken over as like, especially what I do is very much small, like ad agency. And the ad agency that I used to be signed to, actually, we sort of like were like a mini version of them. And that meant that any work that they couldn't take on that came to us. Yeah. So the professionality and actually knowing the craft and knowing how the industry works has become more and more important. And obviously that's time, it's experience, and it's taking on things that might scare you and giving it your best shot and working your hardest and doing your best, really.
Yeah. And so with that, where you're seasoned as a content creator, I would say, how have you kept it up so long without, you know, going into either giving it up or having this burnout, or do you have any tips for people that are doing that? It's a really great question. Yeah.
So evolving would be my number one tip. I know people that I've known since 2016. I've got quite a few people that I've known for a very, very long time, and they're still doing the same thing and very successfully. Phenomenal. For me, that was never going to be an option. It's constantly evolved, it's constantly changed, and it's constantly kept moving, and that's kept things fresh in my mind and kept things exciting for me. I've also taken on new tools, new innovations, obviously, and I think that is the secret. And what I also think is the biggest secret, and I've had some conversations with some agencies that I've done work for, I have a lot of consistent and frequent work, and be reliable, be polite, be a great human, do a good job, and you will get rebooked. And that the industry is quite small and people talk. So to be able to have a successful business and have continued work, those are the tips that I would give you. Be professional and treat it so. And
how do you balance this? Because what I found in doing a job that I am very much passionate about, I'm an evangelist and I'm very passionate about it. And it's a lovely job to have when you have this passion for it. But I have found that when you do something you're passionate about, it's quite hard to draw the line between work and then sort of pleasure or outside
Have you got any tips?
I mean, other than
ask me for tips, because I'm waiting for you.
Other than, you know, just having like that set cutoff. But I found that sort of in the evening and stuff, when it's time for me to then work on my own thing, because there's such similar things that I'm working on. It becomes this grey area.
It definitely does.
Right.
And I'm really passionate about community, and that's another tip that I would give anyone working in content. Answer your comments, answer your inbox.
100%.
Do not just leave them lying there, because your community is what's going to mean that brands want to work with you as well in this space. It's multifaceted. There's lots of elements to why brands work with you. And they're the ones that champion you and keep you going and have those conversations. Well, that means that you sort of are on all the time. But I do take my mornings. I go out for a walk in the morning, every single morning, and take that time, and my phone is off, and I don't.
I've learned to assign a certain amount of time to replying to people and replying to comments. And that might mean that if I've just put a post out, then I'll be on that post, making sure that they come in and everything. But then when I'm sort of not putting a post out, I'll have a set chunk of time where I'm replying to everyone and I'm getting back to them. And I think that's really important, just to kind of distance myself from it.
How does your type A personality manage that? Because mine doesn't manage that so well, because I can't have a comment unanswered, Emily.
We've been talking about this at length, type A and type B people. Siobhan and I sat at the exit row on the plane, so everyone was very much in our hands, and I feel like we were grateful for that. That plane was in good hands.
They were very safe. But
I agree. It's hard to leave something and not want to reply. But I found that when I was first sort of doing it, I would reply to things straight away, but then I would be getting distracted from other stuff that I was doing, because I'm not a full-time content creator. I wear many hats. I wear many hats in my role. And I found that if I was trying to work on something, or the same when you're working on a project and I see a notification.
Do you use focus modes?
No. Should I?
Yep.
Oh, that's what
Set a focus mode.
Yeah. Like for the day.
For the day. So on your iPhone, you can... Do you go to a place of work, or do you work from home mostly?
Work from home.
Okay, so if you go to a place of work, you can set it to a location. So when you get to a certain location, it'll turn on your work focus. Wow. Really smart.
Never knew that.
But because I work from home, so I'm 3 steps away, so it doesn't really know that I've gone anywhere. I just set a time period. So I block out like 2 and 4, and I block out 10 and 12, I think it is, to a work focus. So then, then you forget that the notifications are turned off because my WhatsApp is going off left, right, and centre.
And then it doesn't like mess with your type A brain.
Yeah.
Like, because you just can't see them anyways.
Yep, that's what.
And then dedicate that time to then going through it afterwards. Yep. Yeah, see, that's a good way of doing it. And I think that helps compartmentalize each part of your day as well. Because I think I've never worked in an office. I'm a lockdown baby in terms of like graduation. I graduated in 2020, and so I never had an office life. Yeah. And I think that's interesting in development as well. Like, did you ever work in an office?
Yeah, I've worked in several offices. Yeah.
And so for me, I think it's nice when you look over at someone and see a project they're doing. You know.
Yeah, I will. There's a whole learning curve of working with people in an office as well. I would say, like, physically working with people, like office politics, and
never got it.
You know, to making sure you turn up on time, making sure that there's a lot more involved, I think, than going to a place of work and logging on and making sure you're there than getting up at home and logging onto a computer.
And I think you miss out learning stuff a little bit when you're not next to someone who's doing something cool.
Definitely
and you're like,
agree.
oh, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And so for you, Siobhan, if you're working from home a lot, and obviously you've done a lot of learning new stuff. Forever, since the start. Forever. But how do you go about doing that? Is it something you pick up on socials, and then you start going down a rabbit hole watching videos?
Yeah, so YouTube, big time.
Okay.
Learn a lot from there. It's like literally like going to school. But equally, I'm very lucky to be part of lots of communities via Adobe, and I learn from them as well. So we speak online all the time, like on a WhatsApp group. So I learn from, and all these people from such different areas of the creative community, and we're doing such different things, but I was actually speaking earlier to one of your colleagues about how I keep up with all the models that come out, because it is wild. Like last year was literally like every day.
There's a lot going on.
But I was actually saying, but because we've got this community, we've got this AI community through Adobe, we all speak, but it's out of control because we're all over the world, so the notifications go off all through the night and all through the day, and but it's really informative, and people are really helpful. So we all help each other, ask people, and there's no silly question. We're all helping each other, and it's a very supportive place. So I'm very grateful for that. I suppose that's like a big place that I learn from as well.
Again, going back to how important community is,
because we are human beings at the end of the day, and we do need that connection.
Yeah, I always find when I go and do events with the community, like, I'm there to maybe teach like a bit of technical piece of software or something. But I do a lot of my learning, and a lot of my inspiration always comes from other people, because they're living in either a different country or they're doing a different thing for work. They're using it in different ways. Yeah. And I think that's so incredible. And it really like makes you so tired after a day of seeing everyone, because your brain is just being blown.
Sometimes it'll be like the most simplest of things, and you'll be like, oh, like I've got this problem, and like I'm trying to do it this way, and they'll just go, have you not thought about doing it that way? It'll be something so simple, and you'll be like, oh, one of my friends in the creative industry, and they were like, why don't you choose dynamic text in Photoshop? And I was like, what's that? Like, because there's so many new things. And now it's literally my favorite button to press. I'm like, oh, that looks great.
It's awesome. And you know what's it's quite hard to keep up with anyways, is that we are adding so many things to our tools at the moment. And, you know, we're in this thing where it feels like almost every week, almost twice
I think
a week
it is every week.
You know, there's new stuff coming out. And that's why actually going to events is quite important, because we get talks happening there where things get consolidated and you can just take all of that information in. And I think at the moment, especially with a lot of the AI buzz around, it's easy to almost overlook it sometimes as well. And I think that's why creators like you that have a story to it and that can make this kind of engaging content, that's why it's so important to for you to be a voice in this community. And I know you're a big voice in the community of women in AI.
Absolutely,
as well.
I am.
And I've been excited to
we
start
haven't
talking
even
about
spoken about this.
I know. I mean, I had it in my brain and I was like, I gotta wait. And now I want to talk about it.
Okay, please do. Brace yourself.
So you gave me that statistic a while ago.
Yeah, it's 22%.
22% of people working in
professionally
AI are women.
Yep.
Wow. That's quite a few less. I mean, I come from a 3D world where women are more of a minority in 3D. I think not so much at the moment, but certainly, you know, before it was like that. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, you explained it really nicely that the people that are using AI tools are the people that are shaping it. Yeah.
So that is my argument. And Reese Witherspoon has literally just done a video last night saying that she'd done a book club and she asked the women in her book club, do they use AI? And only 3 of them had ever touched it. And we're talking basic, like using an LLM. And only 1 of them felt that she actually knew how to use it. And she was like, that's absolutely shocking. And then she said, I've actually had a look at the statistics. And in CEO roles, in like superior roles, it's even less, the percentage. It's even lower. And it was something I noticed. And it's not necessarily a criticism of like men. No. Like, you know, I'm not out. I like them. You know, they're nice guys.
Yeah, they're all right.
That I know. But it's not a criticism. But I was noticing that I was going into a room and it was filled with lovely tech bros, right? And I was thinking, why is this? Like, why aren't women wanting to adopt this? Because what's going to happen, and what is already happening, especially at the creator level, is that there are men creating female creators, and like they're going to take their work with AI, which is, you know, quite scary to think about. But and that's a whole other side of the internet. But I just noticed that women just weren't. I was doing polls being like, are you interested? Absolutely not interested. Don't want anything to do with it. And I was like, why are they so resistant? Why do they not want to be a part of it? And if, as I said to you previously, if you are not in it, then you are not shaping it. If it is male voices only, then it is going to become a male-dominated industry, and the way it works is going to be of the male voice.
Yeah, I always like to use a Hamilton quote for it.
Oh, go on.
I want to be in the room where it happens.
Exactly.
Because, you know, and I agree because a lot of people have fear around it, particularly generative AI, but in AI in general. And I personally have experienced lots of waves of fear, you know, throughout this kind of period where we've been having all these announcements and all this new discovery with it. You know, there's always like, sometimes I'm like, oh, God, like, what is this going to be for the future? But what I've come to realize is that it's here. It's staying.
It is.
It's growing. And we can either be with that as it grows, or it's going to grow without us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's not just about women, and we will get back to talking about that too, but it's more about creatives and artists and really anyone that wants to pick it up. These tools are unique because they're shaped by the user.
Yes.
And I don't recall having a tool like that before. This is what's quite weird about it.
Yeah, because the information that goes in is what shapes it, essentially. So if it's only getting one viewpoint on, say, an LLM, or it's only getting one type of like creativity going in, and it's sort of like those reference images or those sketches or the way that you like to create, if it's only getting to create that, then it can only use that data to then go on to create more of that. So it definitely is, you've got to be in it to to win it.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I think what you're doing for women in the AI space and getting those conversations out there.
Yep.
And I think because you're a very approachable person.
Thank you very much.
A very
Emily.
lovely person and a lovely creator as well. You're just doing all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's really inspiring for women to really pick it up.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice that you would give them?
Well, I do. So I'm going to do a sort of DJ type link now. So I have started a series that's called AI Now You Know. And it is a weekly series that helps women go from AI. What's my tagline, Emily? Do you know?
AI curious.
AI curious. Go from AI curious.
Hi, I'm Siobhan.
Go from AI. I'm glad to see that it's sticking there. She knows it was a test. Go from AI curious to AI confident, and I've started at the beginning on purpose, and I don't want to feel like I'm teaching people to suck eggs, but equally, if people are so scared of it, I want people to feel like it's a really approachable subject. I also want women to feel empowered. So my first episode was using the term LLM, and I can't tell you how many rooms I've been in and used that word. I was at a big event with a very well-known tech company that isn't Adobe, and not one woman in that room was using AI, and I was like, and it was women in tech and entrepreneurial women in tech, and they weren't using AI, and this is what started the whole thing, and it really blew my mind, and I was just like, why are these really entrepreneurial women not using it? And where am I going with this, Emily? Do we know? I was trying to think, where am I going with this? And none of them knew what an LLM was. They didn't know what the term LLM stood for. And I felt like I was going into these rooms and all these terms, like these sort of acronyms were getting thrown at me. And I didn't know what they were. So I had to go and look them up. And I suppose it's just empowering people just to know those simple things.
And I think that's also brilliant, because where we're coming into this era where we're using it a lot, for the most part, I mean, it varies slightly, but almost all of us are starting at this similar level. I mean, sure, we have other skills. Maybe we have more technical or creative skills. Yeah. But in terms of using like an LLM or using like a generative model, it's all new to us, right? And so having creators that are building us from the baseline, and it needs to happen like that, because I think fear comes in when people don't fully understand things.
And they feel left behind.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to feel left behind. I want them to feel like, oh, I know. Yeah, I can walk in a room and say, oh yeah, I've started using Claude. Like, so a lot of people don't even know what Claude is, you know, or I've started using this. And the reason I'm using this is because of X, Y, and Z. So I want this series to be really, there's no silly questions. It's very educational whilst being approachable as well. Yeah. And I've even had a follower yesterday actually sent me a message saying that her daughter has started getting into creating, and she's so pleased because she started using After Effects, and she's like looking at AI, and she's like 14 years old, and she was like, oh, I'm so pleased that like she's going into a world that she feels that she's welcome and able to go into that world.
And that's very important for people picking it up, which again, we need a big, diverse,
of course we do,
group of people picking it up and everything. And I agree with that in terms of having to explain something that people, even if they perceive it technical, even if it's not. You know, I come from a 3D space, and I used to go and teach people that were fully 2D folk, teach them this 3D software. So the Substance 3D collection is an Adobe collection, and we have what people describe as a technical app, and it's one of my favorites. It's like it's a node-based application, and I used to love teaching it to people because I like people to look at an object or a software or something and go, that's too technical for me, and then for them to come out of the session with me going, I know what it is now. Like I feel I'm in this now. Yeah, I can do this.
I can actually do that. It's not as scary as I thought.
And I think to follow on from that as well, I love wearing colorful things, wearing dresses, being very feminine in the way I am with people. And I find that when I then go to teach something technical, people feel okay with asking me questions and everything.
Because if you can see yourself, if you see yourself in a person, and that's being a human. So if you're going to go to that person, and if there isn't that person to go to, and if there isn't enough of those people to go to, which there definitely isn't, if you Google anything about AI in particular, you will come up with the same sort of person. And so I'm just trying to break that barrier and mean that there's a different person and a different resource for people to go to. And I highly encourage, if anyone's got any interest, to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get into that space a bit more, you know, moving into Firefly Foundry, just to be working in a space where we're just working with this tech and seeing how it's deployed. And I think it's very important as creatives, as women, as people who are just genuinely interested in this, to be able to have a voice in how people are going to use it in the future. That excites me a lot as well. And so, when I explain things that people think are technical, if I do it in a very approachable way, they tend to listen a bit better, and they tend to persevere with it more.
And I suppose you teach it. It's about how you teach it, isn't it, as well? Because we've all got different learning styles or different ways that we'll like interact with things. So the way that probably myself and you'd probably do things quite similarly like that, in it being fun. But I know like my husband, he's really technical and he just really loves someone just to geek out and talk like all like terms to him and like go really ham on that. Where I'm a bit like, give me some fun, like give me the soft sell, you know, give me in bite-sized pieces, and I'll take it on from there.
And have you really made content before that is fully educational like this? Is this kind of a first thing for you, this series?
I've dabbled.
Right, because you are a teacher.
Because I am, yes, I have the skill set, you know. I did teach
just
young children.
Teaching and content creation.
I have a skill set there, and it's... I've dabbled. I did a bit of like iPad training and things like that, and I've done a lot of workshops, a real in person. And I've started to do a few educational things, and it was a bit like, like it's fun, but like, am I really passionate about this? And this was the thing. I just saw such a gap and such a blazingly obvious topic that I needed to talk about. And my audience is like 90% female. Like I just wanted to talk about it, and it's been really, really well perceived and helpful. I just want to help people. So it's been helpful as well. So it's really great. I really don't want to become one of those people that is just educational, because I think there's a real challenge when you start doing educational content that you then don't really have like any proof in your pudding. And I think there's a lot of people out there that they just do educational content because it does really well, because it's helpful, so people want to watch it. But I think that you've also got to show that you are a creative using the tool that you're talking about, or the thing that you're teaching, that you can actually also use it. So there's that like happy medium, and I definitely want to make sure that I don't lose that as well. So that's why it's like once a week thing, and then the rest of the time I'm sort of creating, whether it's for clients and for myself.
And to just let your creative juices flow.
Absolutely.
Free. Like I love
experiment.
What you made with the moon and you reaching out to Nutella, and you've made it your wall. We don't have it here right now, but it's a spatial scene, and you were showing me and everyone on the plane that you could find.
Anyone that would see it. And I'm really upset that no one's really talked about it so far, that no one's asked to see my phone yet, which is a bit disappointing. But that's a classic example of getting inspiration. So that story came out, I don't know if people know about it, but that story came out when NASA went to the moon, and they had a jar of Nutella that they like passed, and it was like the most golden like advertising opportunity ever, like completely organic. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am going to do my own spin on that. Amazing. It's too good. So that's like, they're the things that really excite me.
That's really, that's such a funny thing to be inspired by, but it's so good as well.
And then I had my helmet on, and I had I still keep my fashion and my passion in that area, and my knowledge in that area. Fashion is my passion. My knowledge in that area that I spent 7 years doing. So I use designer like clothes. I use like runways that I know about. So I was wearing a dress with a NASA space helmet, reaching out on that beautiful. I love it, Emily. I loved it.
It's fantastic. And so you've gone from that idea, just like as an example of like a project. And this is a great one because it's a passionate project. You got inspired. You wanted to make something.
Wait.
So you saw that. what's your first move to start creating? Is it straight into Firefly boards?
Straight into an LLM.
Okay, to start bouncing ideas.
Start bouncing ideas.
Okay, so you bounce ideas off of Claude.
Yeah,
I would say.
I bounce ideas off of Claude.
Okay.
And you know, I think I'm quite bossy, and I think being bossy is really great in this world.
And so
because
you tell it?
I'm literally like, he'll say something and I'll be like, absolutely not. Like, that is not the direction I want to go in. Like, that's like a generic direction. Or if you just put it straight into Firefly, it put me in a full blown space suit, and that styling for me. That's not me. Like, I wanted a space element, but it was only ever going to be the helmet, and it was going to be a certain type of helmet because I have like a bit of a retro vintage feel to my work as well. I'll go and find, before I do anything, before I even go into Firefly and start ideating in boards, I will have like the full, like what I want it to look like. I will go and source my references. So what am I going to wear? I'll go and test that out a bit. What's going to work? What sort of like, is it like really black sky? How many stars are there? I used the colourful moon because all those new pictures came out that was really incredible.
Yeah.
I wanted that to be really hyper detailed, but I only wanted a segment of like the framing to be of the moon. I wanted me to be really oversized on the moon. I wanted the Nutella jar to not look like an advertisement. I wanted it just to be part of it drifting out.
And so when going back to like you start with the bouncing ideas of Claude, do you in your head you were like, I'm going to be wearing this specific yellow dress, or did you not know that yet?
No, so what I'll do is, because of my experience in the industry, I used to literally study runways every single season because I used to have to talk about them. Wow. And so a lot of my inspiration comes from the era that I was like doing doing that. So I'll be like, oh, do you know what would be really good for that? It'll be like this season, Milan Fashion Week in 2017. Yeah, and it's just at the back of my head. And I'll be like, oh, like that yellow dress, like that runway in 2020 will work really well for that. So then I'll sit and I'll flick through the collection.
Right.
So like different designers I know what vibe they give off and what will work. And I knew that for that piece, I wanted like a really voluminous like dress. So because the movement then would like really move. I'm in space, so then gravity's going to start moving. And it's all these things that you don't know if you just go and use AI. You have to have like actually created. Well, you have to have had experience and created those things. You have to know about framing. You have to know about lighting. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm so interested in like what's going on in Siobhan's head. But like before you even get to generating your first,
I'm backwards and forwards, like going
backwards and forwards, and you've got this kind of retro style. You've got this sort of editorial fashion going on with it. Yeah, it's always like a color
element. Like color theory really plays into play with my images as well.
And so you kind of know that, and then you're going into boards. What parts are, I know it's all generated, but for example, the moon, you know, where it's got that specific color, is that a photo?
Yeah, that's a reference. So that's a reference. So like for organic work, I source references from, they're not just like all generated. So the moon reference was from NASA.
Because there's no point in trying to generate
No, absolutely. I've already got it, and it's out there for public use, but a bit different. I was making money out of it, but it's it's fair use. So I'll take elements like that, but it's there's a book by Kleog? What's his Austin Kleog, called Steal Like an Artist. I really recommend people read it. It's just a short book, really good one to reference, and it's about finding. There's no original ideas. So it's about taking bits here, taking bits there, taking that reference there, and then making it your own. So it doesn't look like anybody else's work, but you've had inspiration from different areas. And that is very much how I work, like a bit like a collage artist.
Like photo bashing. Like
absolutely. Yeah.
And
like
so
composting,
going through this again, I'm just trying to figure out how you're making these such cool things. Like, and so you've got the moon.
Yep.
The dress and you are generative AI. Of course.
So I've trained a model on me.
Right.
So I upload. I've trained a model, but I also now it is so good that I upload myself as a reference. I've got a really strong prompt that I start every reference with for the likeness. Yeah.
Is it the same each time?
Every single time. Wow. Yeah. So I've perfected that over time, and it's it works. So
secret sauce.
I'm willing to. If anyone wants to message me, I'm more than willing to share it.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Get on the community.
Get on the community, and I'll let you know. But so I've got a really strong start opening prompt, and the prompts are weighted. So likeness is the most important thing to me. I want it to look like me. And the results are astonishing now, how good that is.
And so when you prompt Siobhan on the moon in the dress, you're doing that all in one prompt. It's one generation, is it?
Yes.
You in the dress.
So I upload a lot of references. So I'd have me as my face as the first reference. So I've got a reference bank of my face. I've probably got about 65 images of my face that I can choose from.
Right.
So I have different angles, face on, side on, different expressions.
So you will choose one of them that
I just choose one.
Most.
Yeah. I choose one because basically with AI, if you leave it up to it to guess, so say you're like straight faced and you want it to have this expression, it's probably going to get it wrong. It's not going to get your teeth right because it doesn't know what your teeth look like, you know. So then those elements aren't going to look like you.
So you have. So
I have this bank of all of this. And sometimes I'll do a couple, but normally one does it now with my starting opening prompt. Then I'll upload the outfit and I'll say that I want this dress, these shoes, these nails, that hat, whatever it is. And then I'll upload the environment. So I'll have environment.
And this is all going into one.
It is, but then what will happen is so for still imagery, it might just go into one prompt, but it's just really strong references and a really strong prompt. But if I'm going to make a video, it is sometimes hundreds of images. So I'll have a really strong reference image that I've made, and then I'll start using that as my reference image for the next ones, and I'll start going in lots of different directions and lots of generations then.
Yeah. For video versus still content.
Yeah. Lots of still images to then feed into for the video.
Right. Yeah. And was the Nutella AI generator, or did you get that?
I just popped it. And do you know what, actually? I didn't even give it I didn't give it a reference image for the Nutella. I thought, let me see if you know what Nutella looks like, and it did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And so you have all this coming together, and then I guess you composite it in Photoshop for a still image.
Yep. Yeah.
So you're bringing these elements in with it.
Yeah. And then the edit will be done in Photoshop. So to give it that, I like to use grain. I like to use soft light. I've got certain things that I really like to use in Photoshop. So that then really brings that cohesiveness together and that style together.
I love it. And I saw you made it into kind of almost like brought it to life, a little bit of motion.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting because it's very subtle movement.
Yes.
Which I personally, when I've been trying to give something a bit of life with generative AI, I struggle with it a bit.
Right.
Because it's always the smaller stuff that makes it look so realistic and makes it look so nice.
Yeah.
And I think I believe it's quite a refined thing that you have to achieve. Is there any tips you've got on that?
It's all in the prompting.
Oh, okay.
And it's all, and also if you want to, it takes things to extremes a lot of the time. Right. So if you ask it to give like something, it is definitely getting better. But if you do ask it to go in a certain direction too extreme, it normally will take it to extreme. So it's very much in the prompting language. Same with the sort of the grain that comes out. Same with knowing what camera you want it to use, knowing what film like Kodak you want it to use, etc.
And you put all of that in your prompt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll say that I want it on this cine camera. I'll say that I want this Kodak. I'll say all those things.
Yeah.
What the project is.
Because so you don't really leave anything up to chance.
No.
Really.
The character limit in Firefly.
Yes.
It's long. It is really long. Like you should see. I think it's 1,800 characters. Why do I know that? But I do.
Yeah.
It's 1,800 characters. It's quite a lot. Like it's a chunky paragraph, but I still have to condense it sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. And I think that's so interesting because I think the perception of Gen AI is you're just going do.
Put me on the moon.
Yeah. Literally being like, oh, it did quite a good job. But this is all curated.
Try it. Try writing Put Me on the Moon and see what you get back. Yeah.
Because and the way you describe this process, this is why I wanted to hear it so detailed because it's so interesting of how accurate you have to be for it to get something so refined.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, people's perception of Gen AI is just leave it all to chance. And it's not. If you're genuinely working with it as a creative.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, that having all that knowledge of working with traditional videography and film and working with stills means that you know about those things and you know that terminology. And I'll be honest with you, you actually learn things as well when you speak backwards and forwards with an LLM saying, I want this look, and they're like, oh, that'll be this Kodak, or this will be this, it'll be this, it'll be this. So
it's teaching you.
Yeah, it's teaching you as well. Yeah.
This is so interesting, Siobhan. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
And we would. It. Yeah.
And so if people want to find you on socials, They Are Creative.
That's it.
On
all socials.
Are you doing anything on YouTube at the moment?
I am. I'm releasing my series on YouTube. So I started releasing it in short form, but there is aims to get it into long form as well. So watch this space.
I will 100% be watching that. I just love like breakdowns of how you're thinking behind these things. I think that's super interesting. A bit more of that then. And I'm super excited to see where you go with Now You Know, AI Now You Know.
That's the one.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I was checking. I'm super excited to see where you go with that series, because I agree, just removing that fear.
Yeah.
I think that's the main barrier for it. And thank you for explaining your process to me. I think it's the amount of detail you have to give it to get these prompts is very interesting. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having
me.
We
could continue chatting.
We can. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope that it inspires some people to at least give it a try.
To pick it up, and if they got any questions, just come straight over.
I'll be there waiting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Siobhan.
You are welcome.
And goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
See you all later. Bye.